Good morning, everyone. I'm Cem Baytok, managing partner of idacapital. Idacapital is a venture capital investing firm. We're managing funds across Turkey and partnering with global investors called Capria Ventures, and our coverage spans out almost all south to south world through that connection. Well, we are based in Istanbul, and here today in this 45 minutes of time slot, I'll be trying to cover the opportunities and challenges that we see in several markets, and especially for travel, leisure, and mobility industries. As being a venture capital investors, we've been seeing thousands of deals as like the others, and we have a perhaps different view. And I'll be happy to try to answer your questions, if any, towards what's coming next in these challenging times. But before going into that, I would like to be giving a short and fast snapshot of what's going on in Turkey and around countries in the venture capital space. Turkey is in the heart of Central Eastern Europe and Middle East and North Africa region, and as an economy, it clearly distinguishes itself, and that also is being reflected in venture capital and technology startups. So what's the market around ours? It's nearly 800 million people, about 37 diverse countries. Total GDP is reaching to $6 trillion. And the venture capital and technology is not a unique thing that goes on in North America or in UK. It's a fact, and we've been seeing the same tremendous demand which comes from investors and growing startups in our region. So this is a graph that shows what's going on in MENA. So as you see the trend upwards, we can say that over the coming years, the number of startups in almost all sectors will be increasing, so that partnering, investing, looking after the inventions and new models that are brought by those startups are inevitable subjects for any businessman and business operations, so that the world is more fragmented in terms of business operators, and the scaling in those small businesses will change the picture of doing business. What I'm trying to mean here is your conventional business models may be at risk, and this graph shows a similar tendency in Turkey. So there's an upwards trends in number of startups, investments, activities, and we're pouring money into this sector. And that happens nearly the same in Central Eastern Europe. And despite all Turkey's last year's economic and political turbulences, the money poured into venture capital and early stage tech startups is not shrinking, and it's increasing. And one critical factor for a venture capitalist and for an investor, and perhaps you might be looking after setting up your own startup, or you might be an investor looking up investing into another startup, or you might be a corporate, an operational player in the field, and would like to partner with new one. In each sections, the exits, acquisitions of these startups is a critical factor, because if you put money into a company, after a few years, if you can sell that company to someone else, we make our money and our investors make their money. So this is a critical factor. If there's an exit in a market, it means liquidity, and it means that it's a growing and fruitful opportunity. And in Central Eastern Europe, there has been exits going on. And Turkey, remarkably, in this, despite again all the coronavirus problems and currency problems, we have seen tremendous exits in Turkey. For example, a gaming company Peak has been sold for nearly for $1.8 billion, and the team was nearly 100 software engineers working and residing in Istanbul. And in terms of our investment focus as a separate entity, idacapital, what we are looking specifically, we're looking after a specific area called impact investing, meaning we are not only looking for making money, we are also looking for measurable and meaningful impact creation in the investments we made. So that if it, we should be making money first. So we are a financial investor, but that investment and that business, in a way, should also bring measurable positive impact to the people. An example in that, if we invest into a travel or startup, and if that travel startup works with small or boutique hotel owners, where in small villages or small towns, they can reach to their customer and increase their margin of profit through that operation, which means, or that means, while we are earning money, we are also making the small players earn more money. So that means that becomes impact, and technology brings that, so that the middlemen in most of the operations are being hurt because of that. But sorry, that's the changing nature of the business. And that impact investment opportunities are also increasing in Turkey. So far, we made 7 investments in our field in the last 2 years. There's a handful of them, but 4 of them are very interesting from our perspective. For example, we invested into logistics startups recently. It focuses on cross-border export and import logistics support for e-commerce or e-export entrepreneurs. And the number of the activities, the volume of the operation is doubling and tripling down. It's soaring because of the digitization and tendency of people to sell their products internationally. Rengen, it's an energy efficiency solution, and most of the Turkish hotels are using, because energy consumption is a big pain for Turkish hotels. But it's not only for hotels, for any building, so we save energy there. Work company. We set up small companies affordably and easily and provide all the backup services, including accounting, reporting, so that if you are going to be setting up a new company, hassle-free, and they don't deal with any of the back office operations, wherever you are residing, you can do it in Turkey and run your operations, start your operations affordably. These kind of businesses are changing the nature of the business. My presentation by the way, I've seen a chat screen from my friend in the background, and I couldn't share, I guess. Anyways, that was a snapshot of what's going on and what we've been doing at idacapital and what we see as the investment opportunities in our region. The critical factor here, when we heard the invitation of Uzakrota to make a presentation here about the startups in technology scope, we thought to bring some questions into the table. The prime question is, how will this COVID and the digitization will affect the overall travel industry, leisure industry, and associated areas? And what, as an investor, what we are looking for, and how do we perceive the opportunities in this field? First of all, one common reading, which is not only been done by ourselves, but also by many other peer fund managers around the globe, the ending of this pandemic will not be in a short time frame, and there's still a risk of mutation in the virus. As a responsible investor, we should be thinking about that, which means over the next few years, all the travel, holiday, leisure, and travel operations will continue to be affected with this change. That's a bad sign for the current operations, current business owners who have heavily, deeply invested into a non-flexible business model. But it's an opportunity for many new ones, because the new opportunities are arising in the fields of new changes. Let me give an example about that. For example, we're looking for opportunities in e-commerce operations, which involves cross-border expansion, and we would easily be looking at and investing opportunities that connects international travel, international holiday, or focusing to tourists, international tourists, for their e-commerce operations. For example, thousands of people are going to US or France or UK, and they're shopping physically there, a brick and mortar operation. But attaching or linking those operations into e-commerce is another opportunity. Or middlemen. The whole operation of reserving, going someplace, and lowering the cost of that operation, and doing those from mobile devices, are new opportunities that we are seeing. The travel industry is part of the overall mobility umbrella. In terms of mobility, we see opportunities, especially in logistics and associated travel operations. By the way, if there are any questions from the audience, I would be gladly transforming or giving answers on our thoughts. The one specific problem that we are observing in Turkey and around, and this is a valid situation for uh, most of the emerging markets, is a problem we called as missing middle, which is uh, in order for any business to become viable, business viable and worthy, most of the investors, either private investors or venture capitalists or private equities, are looking for opportunities that they can invest amounts more than, let's say, $10 million into a company. But for a company to receive a $10 million check, uh, its value should be more than 30 or $40 million. So let's assume you've set up a startup or you've seen a startup. Would you be doing a business with them unless they are worth less than $1 or $2 million, meaning they are at the very beginning of their journey? You don't know whether they are going to be alive. You don't know to what extent they can provide the promised service. But if once they become strong and once they can provide the proposed solution that uh, they they seem to be offering to you, you know that that's the perfect thing. But that startup is not there. Uh, that's the missing meeting problem, which means there's a product, there's a startup, there's a service offering, but you don't know whether you can rely on that. You're not the first customers. Even there are customers you're not sure whether you should be buying that, and you also don't know whether that business will continue to serve at the same quality. That's the perspective of the buyer. And in terms of the founders, if you are a startup founder, the other problem is uh, orders are coming up, piling up, but we need to be hiring more engineers, more support team, and we should be physically be going to many countries, expand our teams, and we need money. Uh, so they have a shortage of money and experience and most of those resources. That's their missing middle problem. And as investors, we're looking at the best teams to put our money. Uh, but as like banks, the best business that we would like to be putting our money is the most mature and most advanced one. And the advanced ones usually have resolved those problems, so that somebody should take the risk and put that money. Uh, and in terms of check sizes, as I said previously, everyone would like to be easily writing a $10 million check into a company if it's mature enough. Uh, uh, but writing a $2 million check, writing $500,000 check, or writing the first $100,000 or $20,000 check becoming riskier, and riskier all the time. In terms of that value chain or investing chain in a mature market like in US, uh, uh, if you are a good founder, if the business is solid, uh, all the players, and I mean buyers, founders, and investors are abundant, so that if you have a nice startup, even an idea, or if you had started your business, you can find the early adapter investors because they know that if they miss that opportunity, someone else is going to putting that money, and there are a handful of other next round investors who will continue to put that money in that nice business because you like the business, and you will be missing that opportunity, so that you put your money into companies. For those people who put $20,000, $50,000 checks, that's the opportunity. They put that money. Afterwards, then comes the second round of people. They have to put in $500,000 or $1 million check. And this, if they're abundant of, again, startups, investors, and buyers for that opportunity, the people continue to put their money because buyers know that they like that business. If they continue to buy that, many others is going to be buying more business, more products and services from that company, and more investors will be putting more money, so that that business is going to be continue to grow. In a mature market, since all these pieces are set in place, uh, a startup can grow so fast, and everyone becomes happy. If some startups fails, uh, that's the fact of the life. Since the others that you continue to start to continue to work with or invested are making money, then in an umbrella or in a basket, you continue to make money. And at the end, your losses and profits offsets, and usually if you are smart enough and long enough investor, you make money. Uh, and the startup owners create new business, new tech businesses. But if one of those pieces are missing in a market, that becomes that so-called missing middle problem. And Turkey is among those places. Some of those pieces are missing. Then comes the question, should we not be investing into such a tech company? Or should we not be working with that startup as a buyer or a customer? Or should we not be starting a new business as an entrepreneur, quitting our job and starting doing that? The answer is no, uh, because if in a market, if all those pieces are set at place, uh, the competition is still fierce. Uh, as a founder, you may not be able to achieve what you are aiming to do. But in a missing middle market, if you are able to identify the opportunities better, so if you define your problem better, uh, since there are not so many players or competitors, if you are a startup founder, since there are not so many uh, uh, founders or entrepreneurs who are trying to do the same thing, your solution will be a unique one. Uh, if you know how to structure your operation better in a market like this, the investors will identify your difference than the others more easily, and they can put more money easily. So there comes the other problem: how to identify those differences, how to create a business model that works in a market like Turkey. That that knowledge can be reflected into global travel industry nowadays as well, because uh, it's going to be a bearish market for some time. So that the magic is, uh, since you already know that one or more pieces in a mature venture market uh, is not existing in your operation, that that is valid for travel industry. Your design of the new business should uh, not be based on the expectation that whatever you will need will be there when you reach there. Meaning, if you attain a growth rate and bring your company from point A to point B, you would expect that there will be many investors or there will be many customers, so that at that point B, uh, even though you are short of cash, you won't have any problem on finding new cash. Or at that point B, if you have if you have customers, X number of customers, you would expect that Y or Z additional customers will be joining in. But the reality here, that's not going to happen, or that may not be happening. So that your design should involve a model where a rapid growth can be achieved whenever you find those resources. But in the worst case scenario, your business uh, continue to grow, and you should be completing and dealing with the problems on your own. Meaning, you should earn your own money. You should do the business uh, with an idea and thinking of the new model, but with the wisdom and operational know-how of the old model. Uh, we have seen that opportunity in many of the businesses that we are investing. Now I'm gonna try to switch to my presentation again. I presume I'll be able to do that this time. I guess I've done it. Here. Yes, sir. If there's any problem on presentation, please type me from the WhatsApp. All right. That's that's the picture that I want to show. Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to give some examples on a few startups that have done this recently. I'll start with Mental Up, one success case. It was founded by two software engineers about 5 years ago. They first visited us about 3 years ago with a solution focusing on children with an attention disorder. We asked, "What are you doing?" And they said, "We have an app platform working on mobile phones. So within that app, we have many small games that focuses on the attention disorder problem for the students. So if they continue to play those games, their attention disorder will be lessened." We said, "How many students or how many children have an attention disorder?" At that time, if I'm not wrong, they said about 10% of the children. Then we asked, 10% is a nice group. So 10% of the whole population. In terms of travel industry, let's assume 5 million people are going to hotels in a year or to plan holiday, and 10% of that section, I mean, top priority, 500,000 people. It's a nice approach, but we asked that magical question. Instead of that 10%, is there a common problem that spans almost all that covers 100%? They said yes. What's that? That's the critical thinking skills. So we asked, can this be applied to critical thinking skill development? And they said yes. So why not focusing on that? They agreed with us and started working on it. Within a year, all Mental Lab solution focused on critical skill thinking development for children between age 4 to 12, and they expanded their customer range from 10% to 100%. That was the first smart move they made. Then they started to sell that product to schools. It was a B2B approach. We asked, why don't you do that through a B2C app and mobile games, and it can be sold everywhere. And they applied that as well. When we first saw them, there were about 10,000 users, single users of MentalUp. In our latest report, which we received about a week ago, 6 million people around the globe is using MentalUp, and an important percentage of those users are paid customers, and they're continuing to grow. And MentalUp started from a small single-digit company valuation. Now they are going upwards with nice two-digit valuations. So it's a nice investment for us, reaching millions of students around the globe, and they're using technology in a smart way, and they are creating impact. And also another operation, work company. It's a one-year-old business. The whole problem definition started with new business owners. We saw that it's a big pain to set up a company in Turkey. Not only dealing with trade register operations and etc., but setting up a company and run a company means you need to be working with a skillful certified public accountant. You need to have an office space, official address. Even though you start selling your products and goods, you should be controlling your financials so that you should be able to see your working capital needs. You should be able to see your income statement. And also, you need people in a growing business to write to issue your invoices. I mean, a lot of operation is going on, and you realize that those are not your core businesses. And for those non-core operations, you spend somewhere around $2,000 to $4,000 per year in Turkey to run such an operation. And we knew that once integrating all those components in a company structure where office address, company setup, certified public accounting, financial reporting, invoice writing, microfinancing, all those will be merged into a single platform. And with the help of the sharing economy, those costs now have been cut to half. You can set up a company in Turkey, a limited liability company, for nearly 500 liras, about $80 per month. This is a breakthrough because it helps entrepreneurs or new business owners to start their operation wisely. And is it a big market? Yes, it's a big market because there are about 150,000 new businesses are being set up in Turkey each year, and no one else is providing such a service. So it is creating impact, it's earning money, and it's going to be growing faster and faster each year. Navlungo is another case. The founders are logisticians who were working in Ford Automotive Factory in Turkey. They realized that exporting a single box is a nightmare for a small exporter. Meaning, you have sold something in Amazon US to someone in Canada or in United States, but you have to be shipping your box from Turkey to Amazon. Then it should be transferred to the buyer. It's a small export, and for that person, that operation involves they have to be looking at many logistic providers taking different prices. Time-wise, they have different operations. So Navlungo team was defining their operation when they first visited us, the booking.com of the logistics. Right now, we've invested into this company. That idea is smart, and they're still the booking com of the logistics, but also they are not only matchmaking, but also operating, providing many back office again operations, which involves completion of e-export operations for those small business owners. And the growth is again skyrocketing. Month on month, this company grows more than 30%. They surpassed more than 50% their last month's expectations, and it's going to be $1 million worth of new business. Rengen is another operation. This company's solution was, when they first visited us, was an Internet of Things, hardware-based solution, which means they had their own design of energy measuring devices, which were being installed in buildings, including hotels, hospitals, banking branches, etc., so that they were measuring and monitoring the energy consumption, especially electricity, but other energy units as well, and gathering that information at a single platform and creating actionable items on that energy consumption, and they were lowering the total energy cost of their customers. But again, the solution was heavily focusing on hardware, so it was a nightmare for them to be physically everywhere, to go to a building to install those things. And we asked the question, instead of focusing on this, can you be just focusing on gathering that software, they get data, and do create the brain of the operation instead of creating arms and muscles of that? Because those arms and muscles, those energy measuring devices are commodities you can buy from China, and a hotel owner can agree with an electrical engineer and they can install those things. So they've done that. Rengen now reaches thousands of IoT devices installed by anyone, by the business owners, by the technicians, or sometimes referred by Rengen teams. Many devices, device independent. But Rengen collects that data and provides those actionable items on a cloud platform, so that they're now able to reach not only Turkey, but also to Spain, to UK. Last week, they made a sale in Uruguay. Another team is working in expansion in Morocco. So that's the opportunity that's growing on. The reason why I gave these examples is that the opportunity in those tech startups, bridging your company from a single-digit $1 million worth of company into 2-digit or 3-digit $1 million worth of company, involves some basic rules. First, expand your markets. Instead of 10% of your estimated markets, try to make a pivot and try to reach 100% of your market, potential market. So expand your markets. Second, create a model where the operation and out to should be lesser and lesser, or should be easier. For example, focusing on hardware involves sending your teams and installing those operations. It's a nightmare. So find or create a network to do such things and focus on the brain of the operation. Even though the total bill seems to be low, in the end you'll be making more money. And the third thing is focus on the unit margins. Create that business with high unit margins, especially ideally more than 60% unit margin. In technology businesses, you can you can use technology smartly so that you can create a business model like this, high gross margin, and create a model where customers will continue to continuously to use you, to buy from you. Again, the Booking.com example. If one customer is addicted to Booking.com, for other purchases, in any case, they will be visiting there again. In work company, for example, work company provides yes, and the CPA, this certified public accountant, and it's the hardest two things in the world: changing your accountant and your address. So, lifetime value of that operation is going to be at least several years, so that you will be continuing to more money from those customers. That's another critical thing. So, these kind of critical business design parameters define a success and failure in a business. And I presume those approaches or those thumbnail guidelines can be helpful for travel and logistics and hotel and leisure startup owners as well, because we're not only be or we will not be looking at how nice that app is running, how super technology is being used. We'll be looking for a business model. Will the customers continue to be using that continuously? So lifetime value. What is the gross margin? How much money you are making on it? How hard it is? Is it easy to be expandable? So your market size. Even if it is in Turkey, will it be implementable in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Chile? So these kind of design parameters will be defining the success or failure in any businesses, and this is well for the tourism and leisure industry as well. I guess I'm approaching to my last minutes. I hope it was helpful and for the audience.
It was very helpful and very informative. Thank you for your presentation. It was a great content for me, and we learned a lot. I think the audience will ask questions during today, so I suggest you to check your message box.
I will.
I couldn't see the questions, so I didn't want to interrupt and ask questions, but I will send a message as well. So thank you again.
It was a pleasure, yes, sir. So we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
All right.
Bye-bye.